So the first thing I'm going to cut in the two sides.
Być może, ale on to tłumaczył właśnie tak, żeby wiesz, żeby stworzyć, jeśli nie jesteś w stanie dojść do tej do końca żylety, to jest trik, który załatwia ci sprawę, wiesz.
Getting a nice heavy cut in. Now I take my chisel. Okay. I go both ends.
Znacznikiem było, tak?
Nie, to było nożykiem.
Tak, tak, nożykiem.
Nożykiem traserskim.
Proszę bardzo.
Nie może podoba, że będzie wszystko na tym małym szybkim, wiesz. Nie. Skonstruował sobie małą frazę i wszystko na nie robi.
So, crosscut saw.
Co takiej nogi mamy?
Yes, please. So I did this groove so that the saw blade has somewhere to go. Goes into the cut. First thing, I want to decide how deep this is going to be. I'm going to set the router plane for that depth. I've got a depth stop, so I get the exact depth to the cut.
There is two kind of stops.
This locks the blade in place. This one sets the depth that it will go down to. Okay? So now I've got that set. I take the blade and I'll just use that for my marking for the bottom. When I cut, I spread my fingers out so that the saw is coming against that. But the groove that I cut into the little notch I cut in gives the saw somewhere to travel. Okay? Too close. I would normally be a little bit smaller, just so that it's not, this is almost exact. So that's why it knocked out on me.
Maybe mallet.
Na domu i drewno mówię, że te warsztaty będą jak pokaz
When I come with this, if I'm going to take a really big cut, I'll back off a little. I may not have gotten as close as I could.
To nie Jarek napisał.
Nie, to ktoś na forum.
Ktoś na forum skomentował. Nie Jarek, ja nie wiem, czy on tam moderuje, czy nie. Moderuję. Ale moderuje jako Jarek, czy jak on
Moderuję w sensie usuwa wpisy.
Pewnie wszyscy go hejtują, że się nie usunął.
So now I come down a little bit more.
Wchodzi ktoś na to
Jak jest
forum.
jakiś hejter, to
Too tight.
A ta jedynka to dlatego, że dla maila nie odpisaliśmy.
No wiem.
Co to za mail był?
Ile kosztuje godzina warsztatowa i w jakich godzinach można to wszystko jest na stronie.
Jeśli nawet wchodzą do produktu, to wolą kliknąć pod produkt i zapytać o cenę, niż spojrzeć na tabelkę powierzchni i ją odczytać.
Wiesz, jak jest takie kiedyś mi maili dziennie, no to nie wszystkie mam czasu.
Now I'm down to the depth stop. Make sure I'm clean on both sides. I can tip this so that I'm running right along the inside corner on both sides to get it cut. And now if I go straight, it's a square side, so it's going to clean up that shoulder side.
Wiesz co, ja w ogóle nie uznaję takich komentarzy, gdzie nikt nie napisał, o co chodzi, tak? Bo to możesz sobie wstawić po prostu, bo każdy może.
Ja mogę,
Nie jest merytoryczne
rodzinę
w
mam
ogóle.
dużo, mogę powiedzieć, że do mnie drewno wyrzucenia.
Albo żeby ktoś ci zalajkował gdzieś raz, no nie o to chodzi.
Mallet?
Yeah,
was it this one?
I think so. But yeah, that's what it was.
Ale to nie
If it's really tight, there's a tool called a side rabbit plane that I can go in and work that. It's just, I actually have one but here with me, but I don't have it with, I'll grab it in a moment. I can also take, it's the block plane.
Co to za UFO?
Muteczek.
Nie, to czarne.
No dobra.
Co? Kamerka, tak? Urządzenia już są coraz mniejsze. Ale jakoś Google Glasses się nie przyjęło. Coś nie było Google Glasses. Jakieś takie?
A nie, no to jest...
No nie słyszałem.
$1000 kosztowały, mamy w firmie słabe.
Ale widziałem te okulary 3D, jak one mają okulusy.
Okulusy.
To też jest taki wymysł.
Ale to jest fajne.
A czym się różni okulusy od...
Tam masz okulary, które mają tylko mały monitorek wbudowany i monitoring ten, a tu okulus jest cały zabudowany i masz monitory stereo.
Quite nice. Trochę drogo jest okej.
Nie, bez kleju.
It's terrible.
No
Show
blue.
how to use, for the special tweak for the table, exactly like something like this on the triangle.
Here.
Tak.
Wyobraź taką, że stół zbuduję, albo kuchnię ich tam dokończę tak nie. Nie przyjdzie od miesiąca.
Za głowę by się złapał, jakby to zobaczył, proszę.
A jak oni go wpuszczają na pokład samolotu?
Normalnie,
Nie, no to
jak
jedzie
na
do
bagaż
bagażu.
Nadaje, wiesz.
w podręcznym, no
Wiem,
byłby
nie,
ciężko.
Ręczny, wiesz,
zapomnij.
tutaj jeden nożyk, tutaj drugi. On tego zatrzymał. Nie, to idzie ten, bo na podręczach na pewno nie może mieć ze sobą. Wszystko idzie do boku.
Ja czasami mam taki problem, jak w torebce jakieś narzędzia przenoszę. też musi uważać, jakby się z torebki wyciągnął.
Ja widziałam gościa na lotnisku.
Wiesz co, one już z mąkiem się zdarzały z piłami, a później z nią do domu
Gościu
przyszłam
stary
z
wysoko.
So
krzykiem.
this is, one way to do this is, this is what's called the side rabbit plane. So the blade comes out from the edge, and then you can go into I can set the depth, little depth stop to how deep my groove is. I can take a little bits off the sides to get it to fit a little bit better. If I'm going to do the dovetail, I can put a little, a piece.
To create an angle, right?
Yeah. Take something like this at an angle. Either glue it on there, use, make little holes and run a small screw in, anything to hold it on in place. I've used double-sided tape where it sticks to both sides. You can make, if you make a little, you make a little pocket, a little dado in here, then you can epoxy it on there if you're never going to take it off.
Or maybe put some magnets.
This is not, this is bronze.
Okay,
It doesn't
okay.
doesn't do magnet. But then you can come, once you have the top side, this top dimension made, you can come in at that exact angle. Another way to do that, though, is plane, if this is what's going to be, if say it's going to be a batten on the bottom of a table, you plane the angle onto this on both sides, and then you just clamp this piece down here, and when you saw, instead of cutting the little groove, you saw to here. So if I have an angle on this piece, I'm sawing in, coming in with the saw at the angle that I want to be. Once it's, and then clean out the same way that I did. You just need to make sure, plane this first, figure out what the, whatever the depth in that it's going to be is going to be. So if that's how deep in it goes, if I have an angle, pencil. If I've planed an angle like this right here is the distance between there. So I scribe that line, then I lay this up against it at the line, I make my saw cut, I slide over, I make the saw cut the other side, then this just slips right in after you use the router and the chisel to get rid of the weights. So that's a very good way as well. If it's something that's going to be going in like this, so you have a piece coming across and then you have a long piece and it's an end grain, so you have your shoulder, your depth in, and you have the dovetail, and this is going to be all the way along. Again, if you make this first, then you determine what that distance is right there. That's what the distance here it needs to be. And you just need to have something that's close to the angle. It doesn't even have to be perfect. It just needs to be close to the angle that's there. And then when you cut in with the saw, you're matching the angle to the two, and then you come through. So if you don't have a plane that can get in and do that angled dovetail, you can do it all straight off the saw, as long as you have something that you can clamp in to give you that angle. So it works very, very well, and it's actually, in many times, it's faster. If you're doing something where you got 15 shelves or something like that, set up a router, do all that, but if it's just a couple of cuts, this is way faster and more fun.
Yeah.
Definitely.
But I have a question. If you use something like this,
Marking knife?
Mark of knife.
Yeah, exactly. The quality is a little bit the same like the triangle. You know, and it's you know, if you make a table, yeah?
Mm-hmm.
Nawet nie, to powiedział, że piłą to robisz.
Nie. Chodzi mi o wytrzymałość. Czy wytrzymałość jest, powiedzmy sobie, że i tak zrobimy, czy powiedzmy to będzie porównywane do tego trójkąta? Ze strzałą, o to mi chodzi. Bo to jest prostsze.
Will the strength of the joint with this kind of dovetail end board will equal the strength of the dado? Like you have less material in here when you leave the
This you mean?
yeah.
You've got a shoulder. This is the material is here. This material is not gone. It's just on the other piece. So when you slide this together, everything locks in, and so it can't tip side to side, so it won't break. If you could tip it to one side or the other, if this shoulder here ended up here, so you had this big gap, then you could tip it over and it might break. But as long as that's flat and flush to this piece that has the dado in it, then no problem. So like that little box, very, very small pins. The pins are tiny, but it's still, you could stand on the corner. If you set it up like this and stood at the top, you can stand on that because it's strong enough to take that. It'll never get that kind of abuse because of the size of what it is. It's not something that's going to be. Nobody would ever do that, and if they did, I'd have to hit them.